And I think this is a really good episode, especially since it introduces an evil being that they come into contact with a lot. It's pretty much a staple monster on Supernatural. There's a, cold opening again. There's a guy in an airport, and he's pretty nervous about flying. He goes to the bathroom and looks pretty freaked out, actually. And then a guy comes in to the bathroom and says, "Don't worry, your odds of dying in a plane crash are 20,000 to 1." And he's like thinking, "Oh, thanks for telling me that. That's just what I want to have in the back of my mind." Yeah, don't say that if you are trying to comfort somebody. Just don't even talk about dying. It doesn't work. But then you see this black dust flying through the, and then the guy gets on the plane, and he looks back, and his eyes are completely black. There's no pupil, there's no iris, they're just black. So you know something's freaky with him. So they start to fly, and the guy gets up out of his seat and he opens the plane door while they're in the air. So you know he's being possessed by something, because no one in their right mind could do that in a natural state of being. So anyways, the plane crashes, obviously. That's the end of the opening. And then we see Sam and Dean. Dean is sleeping, and he has his hand under his pillow, and you see someone open the door, and there's this ominous music, and Dean doesn't know who it is, so he reaches under his pillow, but then he sees it's Sam, and he relaxes. But I would hate to be the one to try to rob their room sometime, because you probably ended up dead. That's all I'm saying. Sam brings Dean coffee, and Dean is worrying about Sam again. Dean asks if he got any sleep. Asks Sam if he's still having nightmares about Jessica. They talk about it. And then Dean pulls out this mango knife out from under his pillow. I don't know how he slept with that thing under there without him cutting himself. The thing is like 3 times the length of my face. But then they get a call from someone Dean and John had helped. He asks for help, and they go, because that's what they do. Sam doesn't even question it anymore. He just goes. And they hear the call log of the plane, and they ask to see the wreckage. And the guy is like, they're keeping it under wraps. We're not really allowed to. And Dean's like, no problem, because they're con men, so they can get in. Dean makes Homeland Security badges, which is that's pretty high up there for them to be going that route. They listen to the call made from the plane, and there's this freaky, ominous, spooky voice that says, "No survivors." That's what it sounds like. And they don't know what it is, so they investigate, which is what they're good at. And they do pass as Homeland Security agents. No one questions them. They show their IDs and they get right in. And they look at the plane wreckage. And Dean pulls out his EMF meter, which is electromagnetic frequencies, I believe. It's a meter he made himself out of an old Walkman, and it shows how resourceful Dean is. Well, they find a substance on the door handle, and it ends up being sulfur. And then there's another crash. They figure out whatever it is going after all the survivors of the original plane crash. Sulfur can only mean one thing: demon possession. Demons are a very common evil foe on Supernatural. So they get a hold of all the survivors of the plane crash and make sure they're not flying. And the only one they can't get a hold of is the stewardess. Her name is Amanda. So they race to the airport because she's going to be on a flight. and they call her from the airport. Dean tries to get her to not get on the flight, and they pretend that he knows her. He pretends that he's one of her boyfriend's friends, and it doesn't go very well because she smells the lie out. So she ends up getting on the flight. And so Sam's like, you know, there's only one thing we can do. We have to get on the flight. Dean is not very happy about that. Dean does not like to fly. I don't think he's ever flown before this. He might have flown once and maybe had a really bad experience, and that's why he doesn't like to fly. That's his fear. And it's kind of cute because it shows him in a vulnerable light.
Well, I kind of have this problem with flying. It's never really been an issue until now. You're joking, right? Do I look like I'm joking? Why do you think I drive everywhere, Sam? Look, Dean, we can do it together. I can do this one by myself. I'm not seeing a third option here. Come on.
And that's why Dean drives everywhere. And I don't blame him. This takes place after 9/11. First season is in 2005. I know that's probably not why he's scared, but I like to think it is. It's probably because it's unstable and it's in the air and he can't control things. That's probably why he's scared of flying. And then Sam offers to go by himself. Sam's like, you know, I'll go. You can stay here. And there's no way Dean's going to let Sam go try to do an exorcism by himself. I don't ever see that happening. Even in season 6, they work as a team. But Sam's like, you know, there's no other option really. We have to. So Dean gives in and goes on the flight. And there's a little bit of turbulence, and Dean's idea of calming music is Metallica for some reason. That's why this show is awesome. Metallica for calming music. Yeah. That wouldn't work on any other show, I don't think. And Sam tells him, you know, just try to relax.
Just try to relax. Just try to shut up.
The facial expressions Jensen Ackles comes up with for Dean, every time, they just floor me. They're so funny and over-exaggerated and just very well done. And you can tell how much he and Jared know their characters and put a lot of thought and time into it. So they need to see if the stewardess is possessed. So Dean finds her, and she is not possessed. So it's somebody else. He goes back to sit down, and turbulence starts again, and he starts to panic, and he really starts to freak out. And Sam kind of takes on the protector role for once, and tells him, you know, you have to calm down because people that are weaker people are more susceptible to demon possession.
Come on, that can't be normal.
Hey, it's just a little turbulence.
Sam, this plane is going to crash, okay? So quit treating me like I'm freaking Thor.
You need to calm down.
Well, I'm sorry, I can't.
Yes, you can.
Dude, stole the touchy-feely self-help yoga crap. It's not
Listen,
helping.
you're panicked, you're wide open to demonic possession, so you need to calm yourself down right now.
So Dean uses his EMF meter and walks up and down the aisle to see who is possessed, and it ends up being one of the pilots. They throw holy water on the demon, and he starts to smoke while Sam starts the exorcism. The demon kind of breaks free, and he tells Sam that he knows what happened to his girlfriend and that she died screaming. And that, Sam is very strong. That would have been heartbreaking to hear, and he continues with the exorcism. And the black smoke comes out, and the plane starts to crash, and Dean is holding on for dear life. I will add that video right here because it is hilarious. It makes me laugh. His eyes, I don't think they could get any bigger because they're like this big, and he's holding on to the door, and oh, it's just perfect. And that poor boy will probably never want to fly again. But they land, and Dean asks Sam if he's okay, after hearing what the demon said about Jessica being tortured, basically, that she died screaming. Sam is a little freaked out, I think, that the demon knew about Jessica, but Dean knows just what to say. And Dean, I I don't know if Sam has dealt with demons very often. I feel like he probably hasn't, since he doesn't really know their natures and abilities. I'm sure he's been involved with exorcisms before, because he did the Latin so well, but I feel like he's probably been held in the background for the most part, since he believed the demon. Um, because Dean goes on to say that those things read minds and find what can hurt people and manipulate them and twist things around. But the way Dean looks when he's saying that, I can't help but think he's lying in saying that, and he's just saying those things to comfort Sam and to not have him feel as bad and guilty. Just the way he looks. I feel like I know his facial expressions, like he's a real person. And then at the end, they ask the man who had called them from the very beginning how he got Dean's cell phone number, and the man says that he had called his dad, and the voicemail had said, if this was emergency, call Dean. I think this gives them hope, because they know their dad's alive, and that's a recent message, but they're also pretty mad. I would be mad. Their dad is giving them all these jobs, and they know their dad's alive. He still will not contact them. I think that's pretty selfish of him. Character development, I gave a 17 out of 22. This episode doesn't really have that much character development. As much as I like the hilarity that ensues with Dean not liking to fly, there's not a whole lot. Good balance between emotional pull and action driven. I gave a 15 out of 17. You know, there's a lot of action in this episode, not as much emotion as there could be, and I would have liked for there to have been more effective use of music. 5 out of 5. Makeup and special effects, 8 out of 10. Since this is the first time we've seen demons on Supernatural, it's obvious that they were still experimenting with how to do it, because it's pretty weak compared to what we see later on. This dust is just this kind of like particles that like little, float in the air like here and there, and like, and later on we see this like whole rush of black, and that's what I like with the demons, not this weak little mamby-pamby stuff. Overall quality of the week, 27 out of 27. This is what Supernatural is all about. They get a case, they dig deep, they do a little research, and then they fight the evil creature. So top points for that. Monster of the week, 10 out of 10. They do a really good job of explaining what demonic possession is, what all the signs of it are, and demons are a staple monster in Supernatural, which I like. It brings up a lot of issues. Acting, 5 out of 5. No issue there. And Jensen Ackles gets all top marks for his freaking out about flying. Contributing to the season-long arc, 3 out of 4. It does contribute because, this is an introduction to demons. You learn that they'll probably be getting calls for help because of their stupid dad pushing all his work off on them. And we hear that John is alive, or at least he was 3 months ago when he made that new voicemail. So total was a 90, A-. This isn't my favorite episode. Still on the first disc, it's the only other episode that I watch constantly. The episode is very tightly written. It has a lot of good brother moments, which are the best part of the show. So